My parents got married when they were very young. Of course, they dreamed of having a child, but my mom couldn't get pregnant for a long time. The doctors even said she would not be able to have children at all. But when she turned 50, she finally got her long-time wish and got pregnant. The doctors could not believe their eyes. For a long time, they tried to talk my mom out of keeping me because it was dangerous to give birth at her age. But I was born in the end, and I was absolutely healthy. That's when doctors started calling me a medical miracle, and my parents began to treat me accordingly and watch me very closely. But before I tell you what happened, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. When you're very young, getting attention from your parents is cool, so I was growing up a happy child. However, as I went to school and got older, it quickly stopped seeming cool to me. Just imagine, one day, I was pushed by a classmate during the gym class by accident. I fell and broke my nose badly. It wasn't anyone's fault, and I wasn't at all upset about it. But when I got home and my mom and dad saw me, they went to school the next day and made a huge scene. That happened day after day. Each time my parents came to school to fight with my teachers or with the parents of other students, I felt terribly embarrassed. I secretly wished my parents were a little younger. After all, they didn't stop at making a ruckus at school. I was not allowed to play computer games because my parents thought they provoked cruelty. I couldn't even really browse the internet. While everyone else was doing their homework using all the available information, I spent hours digging through dusty books the old-fashioned way. Speaking of studying, I was a straight-A student, but it didn't come easy to me. Boring clothes, tight pigtails, braces, glasses with huge lenses. My appearance seemed to repulse everyone around me, and my classmates all thought I was always complaining to my parents, and that's why they constantly came to cause scenes at school. Angelica, the school's most popular girl, was the worst. She loudly discussed my ridiculous outfits with her friends, laughed at me, and mocked everyone who treated me kindly. In the end, it led to everyone at school turning their backs on me. I didn't like my life and felt unhappy. I didn't want to be the person I was. I had a secret passion: cosmetics. You can't even begin to imagine how much I wanted to have my own eyeshadow palette or lipstick. I dreamed of watching video tutorials on YouTube, learning how to put on makeup, and amazing everyone with some incredible looks. My parents wouldn't even let me do that. When I asked them to buy me some makeup, my mom said that I was still too young to wear it. Naturally, I was afraid to even mention that I wanted to become a makeup artist. All I could do was save my pocket money and buy the cheapest cosmetics in secret. I only wore makeup at night for myself, to avoid being caught by my parents, and I always thoroughly washed everything off before going to bed. Anyway, I thought that it was absolutely normal to wear makeup at the age of 14, but my mom didn't want to even listen to me, and I was afraid to argue with her. I envied the girls whose mothers taught them to use eyeliner and carefully contour their lips so much. I needed the support of a loved one so badly, but I didn't get it, and so I ended up facing the consequences. I went to a cosmetics store after school and spent hours wandering between the rows, looking at cute jars and tubes. Sometimes I would play around with the samples, and one day I got too carried away. I tried to repeat the look of a girl from an ad stand, so I did a full face of makeup. I was trying so hard that I finished and came to my senses just before the store closed. My blood ran cold. I wouldn't have the time to run home before my parents came back to wash it away. I started sobbing as I came closer to the house. When I came in, they looked absolutely shocked. My mom scolded me for probably an hour before letting me go to the bathroom, when I finally removed the makeup. Oh, you should have seen it. My whole face was covered in strange red spots, and there were sores on my lips. That's how I found out why there were alcohol sprays next to the testers. It turned out that you had to clean all the cosmetics before putting them on, but no one had told me about it. I was already having a rough time at school when I imagined coming to class looking like that. Something inside me broke. I went back to my parents and finally told them everything. It was my mother's fault that my whole face was covered in sores. She was the one who didn't let me use the internet and never gave me any advice. I said that I was an adult and wanted to do something other than study. And guess what? My dad suggested I join a book or a chess club. Oh, I was furious. I couldn't stand it any longer and finally told my parents everything. I said I wasn't interested in stupid chess or books, that I wanted to be a makeup artist or a beauty blogger, and all I had been dreaming about for the last few years was to learn how to do beautiful makeup. Of course, my parents didn't support me. They said that cosmetics were stupid and being a makeup artist or especially a beauty blogger were not serious professions. It turned out they wanted me to be a doctor or a lawyer. Long story short, someone to be respected. They hadn't even thought to ask my opinion about any of it. I felt terribly hurt. But this time, I decided to stop putting up with my parents' rules. It was my life, and only I knew what I really liked. I waited until the sores were gone, and then I went to the cosmetics store to spend all the money I had. I had been diligently saving up for a long time, so I had the money to buy enough cosmetics to fill a whole makeup bag. From that day on, I started to practice doing makeup more actively. I came to school wearing lip gloss or sometimes mascara, but it didn't seem like enough. Angelica's birthday was coming up, and she had invited almost the entire school to her party. I decided that was my chance to shine and win back the respect of my classmates. On the day of the party, I put on the most beautiful clothes I owned. I let my hair down and spent several hours at the table, putting on eyeshadow, eyeliner, lipstick, and so on. When I was done, I saw, of course, it wasn't another girl looking at me from the mirror. I still had the awful braces and glasses on, but I looked so much prettier. And most importantly, for the first time in my life, I liked my own appearance. I felt happy when I sneaked out of the house and went to the birthday party. I'd even brought a gift, but I'd underestimated Angelica. All dressed up with a smile on my face and a colorful box in my hands, I rang the doorbell, hoping that my classmate would appreciate my gesture and finally treat me well. When Angelica opened the door, she seemed very surprised. She looked me up and down slowly, and then she snatched the box out of my hands and slammed the door in my face. Finally, she hissed like a snake. "Get out of here! No one invited you!" I crossed the road and then burst into tears. Sitting on the cold concrete curb, no one had ever treated me so badly. I tried so hard. I even brought a present. Why was she treating me like that? I was so engrossed in my sadness that I didn't even notice someone sit down next to me. When I looked up, I saw Jur, Angelica's boyfriend. That night, I learned that I shouldn't have been so scared of him. Jur turned out to be all right. He had seen Angelica chase me away and that he had seen me cry. He had come over to comfort me. I couldn't help telling him about all my misfortunes. Jur was very surprised when he found out that I was not a snitch at all, and that my parents had been coming to the school of their own volition. Then he took pity on me and said he would try to help, and he also suggested I download TikTok, as there would be many people who loved makeup there. I still felt hurt, but Jur managed to cheer me up. I went home, downloaded TikTok, and really fell down a rabbit hole. I'd never seen so much inspiration for my looks. The idea to create an account came to me by itself. At first I was scared and thought people would mock me there too, but the people in the comments were surprisingly friendly, so I started filming more often. The makeup looks became bolder each time and the number of my subscribers grew, and then I got an ad offer from a small cosmetics company. Of course I agreed. Jur hadn't been lying when he said he would help me. He told everyone that I wasn't a snitch, and from that day on, he protected me from Angelica's antics as well. My classmates started to treat me friendlier. My confidence grew, and I realized that it was time to tell my parents about everything. And you know, surprisingly enough, they supported me. I showed them the money I'd earned and the videos I was making for TikTok. I thought my mother would just scold me again, but all of a sudden, I saw tears in her eyes. She said she'd had no idea how talented I was. The money I earned was enough to buy me new clothes, contact lenses, and replace my terrible braces with small and neat ones. When I came to school, everyone was shocked by my new look. Now I was the prettiest girl, not Angelica. That nasty girl was quickly forgotten, and everyone suddenly wanted to become friends with me. After all, as it turned out, it hadn't just been my life Angelica had been ruining. I was happy. Although accepting all the changes was hard for my parents, they tried to support me and even allowed me to throw a big party for my birthday. I invited everyone at school to it, except Angelica, of course, but she came anyway, even though she hadn't been invited. How the tables had turned. Now I could slam the door in her face and humiliate her in front of the whole school. But you know, I decided I didn't want to be like her, so I let her in, even though I didn't want to talk to her. Besides, I knew I'd already got my revenge. For the past few weeks, Jur and I had been texting each other every day. I really liked him, and that night I told him about it. He immediately went to Angelica and broke up with her because he had not loved her for a long time already. After the incident at her birthday party, he had finally realized what kind of a person she was. That's my story. That's how I realized how important it is to not give up on your dreams. You have to fight for yourself to the last, because you never know what it might lead to. I didn't give up, and that's how my life changed.
Have you ever been disappointed in yourself? If not, I really envy you, because I have, and I want to tell you a story about it. But first, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. About 6 months ago, My dad, who works as a research scientist at a space agency, got a big promotion. It was a real joy for our family. Except for one thing. We had to move to another state. That's how I found myself in an unfamiliar school right in the middle of my last trimester of my senior year. I can't say I was welcome there. I'd always been stylish and attractive and also knew how to sing professionally. So, I'll be honest, most of my classmates looked at me with admiration. But Susie, the biggest star of the school, wasn't happy about my transfer at all. Of course she wasn't. I mean, someone suddenly dared to try and take her place. Especially since it was almost time for prom, where king and queen of the school would be chosen. Long story short, Susie was clearly not backing down and tried her